Hey guys, this is Nathan the Tugan for 7A Math. For this video, we're going to learn about part 2. This is part 2 of section topic 1.1 expression and variables. So part 1 we learned about variables and variable expression. Go check that video out if you guys are still having trouble figuring out what is variable and variable expression. But in this topic, we're going to learn about a new word, evaluate. So evaluate basically means solve things, right? Probably you guys did questions like evaluate the expression 6 plus 2, and then you're just going to add 6 plus 2. But what does evaluate means in the context of evaluate the variable expression? Well, we basically solve the expression, but it has an extra step. The extra step is we're going to substitute a number for each variable on the equation, on the expression. So here's an example. Evaluate the expression 12 plus x when x is equal to 8. So the problem given to us is 12 plus x, right? So we're going to substitute x with 8 since it says right here that x is equal to 8. That means we can substitute this x with this 8. And that's what we did right here. 12 plus x becomes 12 plus 8. And then we solve to get 20. Now that's a bit easy, right? You're just substituting variables with numbers and then solving it. But what happens when you have two variables in the expression? Let's say it's x plus y when x is equal to 10 and y is equal to 4. What do we do? Well, you basically do the same thing as you did on a previous example, except in this one, you substitute both variables. Okay, so again, we're going to substitute x plus y with x equals to 10 and y is equal to 4. So x plus y becomes 10 plus y because x is equals to 10, and 10 plus y becomes 10 plus 4 since y is equal to 4. Okay, you have to substitute the correct variable with the correct number. You guys are not supposed to substitute x with 4, and you're not supposed to substitute y with 10 since they're not equal. Now that we have our final expression, 10 plus 4, what do we do? Well, we're just going to solve it. 10 plus 4 is equals to 14. Now you guys try to practice by yourself. So if you do this guys correctly, you can pause the video here. Okay, when you unpause the video, let's try the practice together. It's going to be 10 plus 3, which is 13. 15 minus x is 15 minus 10, which is 5. 20x becomes 2010. Is that correct? No. What's the operation between 20 and x? It's multiplication. So you have to show that process here. You can show it as a dot or you can show it as a parenthesis. It doesn't matter as long as you show you're multiplying 20 with 10. I would suggest not using the x mark that multiplication usually does, because we're learning variables already, so you guys don't want to mess up if your x is multiplication or is that a variable. So now let's move on to 240 divided by x is basically 240 divided by 10, which is 24. I think in you guys' book it's 24 divided by x, so it's actually 24 divided by 10, and that will give you guys a decimal of 2.4. Now you guys practice this on yourself. So it's going to be m times n, which is 8 times 2, which is 16. M plus n becomes 8 plus 2, which is 10. M divided by n is basically 8 divided by 2, which is equal to 4. Mn minus n is basically 8 minus 2, which is equals to 6. That's how you do these two practices. Now let's try something. Now that we're done with evaluating, let's try translations. So what does the translation do? We're just going to translate English to math expression. Sorry for this noise. So here's some keywords. So here's a common words and phrases that indicates operation. So if it falls into addition, it's going to be listed right here. If it falls in subtraction, it's going to be listed in this row right here. If it's multiplication, it's right here, and division is right here. So let's try translating English to math expression. The product of 45 and 6. The product indicates it's going to be multiplication. So the order we multiply. So how do we arrange it? We know it's going to be 45. The relationship between 45 and 6 is going to be a multiplication, but what's the order? Well, the order is simply the order that is given to us. So if 45, since 45 comes first, in the expression is going to be first too. 6 is the second one, the 6 is the second one. That's basically how you translate words English to math. We keep the order in which the order we appear in. So here's a warning. The order is usually the order that's given to us. So the order is kept as is. However, if the common words and phrase ends in than or from, the order is reversed. 13 more than 6 is actually, so let's have an example. 13 more than 6. More than is a keyword that indicates addition. So that's going to be addition. So, but since more than ends with than, the order is reversed. So you're not going to write it as 13 plus 6, but instead as 16 plus 3. Now we want to recall variables. By definition are letters that stand for some number. So that means we can use variables to indicate an unknown number. Let's say 12 less than some number. Let's have an example on that to make that clear. 12 less than some number. So we have a word less than, which is subtraction right here, less than, so the operation is subtraction. Now we have this word some number. We don't know that number, but what we can do is we can substitute a variable for that number. In this case I chose x, but you can choose any variable letter you can think of, as long as that's 0 or 0. Okay, so we're ready, right? No, not so fast. We have one more thing to do. One thing to note: this is less than, right? And it ends with the word than. Again, when we have the word than, the order is reversed. So it's not going to be 12 minus x, but instead it's going to be x minus 12. Keep that in mind. So here you can pause the video and you can try to practice 1 to 4 and try this by yourself. Okay, now hopefully you pause the video and did all practice 1 to 4. Now let's try this together. And this for 1 to 4, I will use variable x. But again, you can be fancy, use different variables. Doesn't matter. So let's answer 1 is going to be x divided by 4. A number subtracted from 11, which is 11 minus x. Again, answer form, so your order is reversed. Now let's try 3. Difference of 12 and a number is going to be 12 minus x. And a number plus 15, which is basically x plus 15. Hopefully you got your practice questions correct. If not, please go over that. Please go over and correct it. I would like you not to erase your work when you're changing your practice. I want you guys to see how you made the mistakes. So please don't erase your mistakes and then write the correct answer. This notes is not for me. These notes are for you. So I want you guys to see your own mistakes. Okay. So if you're doing this if you're writing this on your paper, show this. If you're writing this in Word, at least highlight it or something like that. Just show that you indicate the incorrect answer and the correct answer. Now let's move on. Let's talk about word problem. Well, what we do here is basically the same thing we did on translating, but we're just going to apply that one step further. We're going to evolve that so that we can solve more problems. Sorry about this. So let's try the first example. You plan to equally divide 120 pieces of candy into 8 bags. We're going to write the expression for the number of candies that will be in each bag. So what I like you guys to do when you guys are dealing with word problems is underline all the keywords that we will use. In this case, divide indicates the operation, so underline that. 120 is some number, so let's underline that. And 8 bags, because that's a number, let's underline that. So now we have 3 things. So right here, divide tells us the operation, and the number that we will be dividing is 128. Now the question is the order. How do we divide them? It's simple. Again, it's the order that is given to us. It's going to be 120 first and then 8 second. So again, you can see it right here. 120 pieces of candy divided by 8 bags is basically 120 divided by 8. That's a bit easy, right? Hopefully that's easy for you guys. If not, then I would suggest working on more word problems. You can find more word problems in the homework. That's basically 2, so it's not really a lot. But you can search up online for more word problems. So yeah, sorry about that. I'm having a brain fart right now. So let's try example. the next example. This one's a bit harder. A teacher wants to divide his 45 students into groups with the same number of students. Write the expression for the number of students that will be in each group. Again, now what do? Well, we're going to underline the things that relates to math in this scenario. Well, divide relates to math. 45 is the number. In this case, we have to do some critical thinking. Groups. We don't know the amount of groups, but we do know that we're going to divide 45 by that number, right? So let's go. We're just going to underline that. Again, right here. Now we don't know what the group is, right? But do we know some way to represent a number when we don't know the said number? Yes, we can use variable. So in this case, we will use X group. X is the variable. Just in case you don't know, the order we divide them is the orders that's given to us. So it's going to be 45 divided by X. Now let's try some practice. So translate the word problems. So in this case, we have, suppose you have a $50 gift card and you spend the amount of dollars, write the expression. So we have $50 gift card and the amount of variables, right? That's the two things we know right now. That's basically it, right? But yet in this case, number one, you have to critical think. If you spend money, do you gain money or do you lose money? You lose money, right? Your money gets lower when you buy things. So that means we subtract. So it's going to be 50 minus D. And that's it. 50 minus D is your expression. In this case, we don't have to think of a variable letter since the variable is already given to us. And we want to use that variable. We're not going to put A since we don't know the X A. But we do know D stands for the amount of dollars. Now let's move on to 2. Suppose you have 50 marbles. You want to divide that into groups with the same amounts of marbles. Write the number of marbles in each group. So again, underline the things you want. Marbles, divide, and groups. And then you're just going to write that expression. It's going to be 50 divided by X. In this case, I chose X as the variable, but you can choose any variables you want. Q, W, S, it doesn't matter, since it's not specific. The variable that we need to use is not specified. But in 1, it's specified that we want to use D, so we use D. In 2, it's not specified, so you can use whatever you want, whatever variable letter you chose to choose is correct. And that's it for this topic. Hopefully you learned a lot. You guys do your homework. Goodbye. Peace.